Om Shanti, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Monday workshops. And every Monday we have a special guest speaker. So, as always, these sessions are geared to explore the path of spirituality, especially when we want to be on the path of spirituality, which is not a black and white path, which is not as it is not something that science can help us thread that path. This is the path that we as a conscious beings have to figure out our own way. But we have the benefit of somebody who has threaded that path. So when we were listening to their own personal experience, something within us resonates with their own spiritual experience. And especially this is what I always used to think, that when I'm listening and to somebody's experience, there is a part within us which actually empathizes with others, which actually puts ourselves in their shoes, and then we get to feel what they might have felt, right? And that part is what gets invoked, especially when we listen to the experiences of others. And we all can relate to the worldly experiences of others, right? Just imagine if somebody shares their own personal experience of going through the hardships in the world. We can imagine what it could potentially feel like, and we can empathize with them. We can give them guidance, or we can give them support. We can give them a lending hand, whatever is needed, only when we understand, right? In order for us to understand, I need to experience what they have experienced. So there is this insight that always worked for me and that always resonates with me is, you only understand when you experience. So we only understand others when we experience what they have experienced. So one of the ways to understand this path of spirituality is to experience what potentially is this spiritual experience is, because it is nothing like physical. So having said that, we have with us a very special yogi, Sister Roslyn. She has been treading on this path for more than 33 years now, right? 33, 34.
I think we might be thinking 34.
34 years now, right? And for most of us who are in this room, we haven't even born when she started treading this path, right? So it's a very special soul we have with us, Sister Roslyn. She has a very unique journey. So by profession, she's a registered nurse. She is in a profession of empathy. She's a professional of service before she even started coming into this spiritual service. So this is a story of love, story of service, story of dedication. So it's we especially invite Sister Roslyn. Sister Roslyn, welcome. So we love to hear your journey and how did you ended up coming, and any special experiences that you had, and please take it away.
Okay. Thank you for that lovely introduction, and welcome everyone. Om Shanti. I think I would begin by saying, first of all, I was born in Canada, in the Midwest, Winnipeg, Manitoba, 60 miles north of Minot, North Dakota. So, you know, we're in comparison to Florida and California and Hawaii, it was quite drastically different. Anyway, I headed south as fast as I graduated from nursing school. Got my green card and moved to Seattle, Washington, and then down to California, and then to Florida because my husband and I decided we were going to build a ferrocement sailboat, 49 foot, not short, liveaboard. And we did this, and then we sailed up through the dry Tortugas and around up to the Maine, actually, and then back down again and around here and there. And I was working in the hospital, rowing ashore with the boat from the boat in the in the dinghy. Anyway, it was a whole different lifestyle. So I could honestly say I began life with an alternative choice. And I've always been fairly independent woman, so it seemed like a good idea at the time. But then things changed, and my husband and I no longer wanted to be together. He seemed to want to be with somebody else. So it was time for that midlife crisis business. And I moved off the boat and became a landlubber. Okay, so that was a whole change of pace. And I thought, well, now what am I going to do with my time? I tried photography. I went canoeing. I hiked up into the mountains and did backpacking and all sorts of different, and nothing seemed to satisfy me or give me any sense of contentment at all. I was miserable and depressed and close to suicidal, but not quite there. Anyway, it was time for change. So I opened the Yellow Pages, still down there in Florida, and there was Raja Yoga meditation, but I thought it was Hatha Yoga. So I called up, and sure enough, they said, "Oh, we are not out there in the country anymore. We've moved into the city. Come and join us." And it was the Mind's Eye Museum in Tampa, Florida, had just begun. They had a big billboard out, and there was a picture of Brother Rick with a light in the middle of his forehead. And he said, "Don't you like our new billboard? Come inside." And inside was just a bare building, nothing there. "We're going to make a museum here," he said. So he told me what we needed to do. And I said, "Oh, you need help, right?" So I showed up the next time with my hammer and nails and ready to go. And he kept me busy for about 5 or 6 months. We put together the beginning of a museum, and then I went sailing again. It seemed like a good idea to make sure I was finished sailing before I started on something new completely. But, I was willing to try. And so I came back after the summer in Canada, and, great outdoor person kind of experiences. And I said, okay, now I'm ready to work on this other thing. And this other thing, it turned out to be the Million Minutes of Peace campaign. Now, it was 1986, the time of the harmonic convergence. Yeah. It was time for spirituality to start all the way around the world. And people just stepped right up and said, okay, we'll be willing to give a few minutes of peace every day for, I think it was 2 or 3 months. I'm not sure. Anyway, it was a couple of months that we were to meditate a few minutes every day and think of world peace. So this was the project. And I went to Miami, and I went up to New York, and Sister Elizabeth was up there. You know the singer, Sister Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, she was singing in Grace Cathedral, and the Brahma Kumaris presented this program of A Million Minutes of Peace, and it was magnificent. And that was the first time I met a senior Dadi. Dadi Kumarka was there, and she came and was in the museum with us. It was a room smaller than this. And so we were, all close together on our little cushions on the floor. I mean, in those days, we could all sit on the floor. And the brothers and sisters that were with me, we were all of about the same age, 30s to 40s. And there was a carpenter, and there was a plumber, and there was an electrician. They'd all worked putting the museum together. And Dadi Kumarka said, "This is a good thing what you've done. Now you have to give the tour of the museum with confidence. And then if you're ready to go to Madhavan, you can come." Well, little did I expect to be ready to go to Madhavan, but they said, "Yes, you're ready to go."
I want to pause you there. I just want to highlight here a couple of things with about Sister Roslyn. You can see from her journey, she's a pioneer spirit. She is the one who is inland in Winnipeg, and she totally moved herself from Winnipeg all the way to Florida. And she totally changed her lifestyle to live on the boat and to sail whole of the East Coast. Literally, Maine is all the way to the north of the USA, and then Florida is all the way south. She used to sail all the way and multiple trips, and she totally lived on the boat for such a long time, right? And after a while, when things didn't work out, she started exploring different paths. Like, she is an explorer by nature. She tried hiking, she tried nature, she tried different things. If I believe you also tried transcendental meditation before coming to Raj Yoga meditation.
Yeah, I gave that a whirl too, but it didn't satisfy.
Yeah. So if you actually see, one of the things about the double faunas, especially Sister Roslyn, is these are the kind of souls, like today's Murli also Baba was talking about. These are the souls who are born by Brahma Baba, Avyakta Brahma Baba, right? And if you actually see, she started her spiritual journey with service. So the minute she walked into, she started doing the service. She started helping out with building the museum. She's helping out with the Million Minutes of Peace project, and then she's very much engaged. And pretty soon, within few months, she's a teacher who is taking everyone on a guide, right? So these are the souls that it always inspires me whenever I hear these stories. And especially, she started her spiritual journey with daddies straight away. Yeah, and in Madhuban, isn't that beautiful? Please.
Well, that was it. There were three of us sisters ready to go to Madhuban. That was Sister Dorothy, who's up in Peace Village now, and the other one was named Chris, and she moved into a trailer park nearby Tampa. I'm not exactly sure where, but anyway, stayed in connection after that. So the way to go to Madhuban is you have to pay for your own ticket. And so I called up the agency that I was working for and said, I need to earn $2,000 in 3 months so I can go to India. Okay, this is like extra than so I can go without having any complications of financial crisis while I was gone. And they came right through and provided me with the extra work, and it wasn't a problem at all. So it worked out really, really well. So Dorothy and I and Chris are on the plane on Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve, 1986. And we flew to London, where we joined the group in London, and it was Christmas Day. Christmas Day in London was with Dadi Chanki in the Shakti Bhavan, the sister's house. We were all sitting on the floor. They had a blanket, no, it must have been a sheet on the floor, and they made my first vegetarian Christmas dinner. And let me tell you, it was out of this world. It was magnificently inspiring, because I didn't think for a minute you could do this kind of thing. And they were quite amazingly creative about it. And, not just, there we are on the floor, for heaven's sake. And Dadi Janki, she's also sitting on the floor. So, well, anyway, there we were. And it was a very touching and inspiring thing. And they said something about Sister Joy. She's not here, but she's with her mother, and she and her mother are going with us on this journey. So Joy was a physical therapist, and her mother was probably not even my age at that time, and she came with us. So we became very close. You know how it is when you're traveling together, you make friends. So that's what we did. We made friends. And off we went to India. And when we get there, we are welcomed into Pandav Bhavan and put in a room. There were 40 beds in that room. So, it was, and there was a bucket bath. You got the water and you took the scoop and poured it over your head. And that was, there was no shower facility. It was just hot and cold running water. And it was a real challenge. It was like going camping,
Yeah, that's right.
It was that primitive, and it was okay because it wasn't freezing cold. And you weren't out in nature, because when we sat for meditation, we were in buildings. And the first thing that Dadi Kumarka gave me was a shawl, because I had my jacket on. I was a little chilly. And she said, oh, no, you need it. And that was like the Brahma Kumaris give you things right away. There's no question. They give you things always. And before you know it, your heart is open. Your heart chakra is open because they want to share. And it's not just spiritual knowledge they want to share. They want you to feel that unconditional love that Baba has given them. And I think, that was how I was touched very, very deeply by our senior daddies. So that was it. Yeah, that was just the beginning.
Yeah, that was a beautiful journey. So one of the things I always think about is some people say that, when we listen to people having these beautiful experiences, and how come we don't get it? Or how come, like the one which you are sharing, like when you felt that sense of belonging, your heart chakra opened, you feel a sense of engrossed in love, right? And people do ask these questions like, why am I not experiencing that? What is it I'm doing wrong? Or what is it that I'm not doing right? So I also had this question initially, and then I used to reflect on this thing. So one of the things that comes to my mind that helped me is to, when you are listening to somebody's experience, look from which background are they coming from, right? That gave them that experience. So one of the things that I found in Sister Roslyn is she's very honest. She's honest to the core, that she's ready to let go of anything, right? Even though it may put her at risk on some of the things, like financially at risk, or like moving from one place to another. And then you can see she's a traveler by nature. She traveled from Winnipeg to Florida to Canada to Seattle to Hawaii to California to, so she's a traveler, right? And she is literally following her heart. Right? She literally followed her heart. If something is not working out, something is telling, even though the path forward is not clear, she followed her heart. Right? And especially, you might have heard this many times, Baba saying is, honest heart is what Baba sacrifices himself to those children. Right? So that is when you come from the core, honestly, when you open up, when you do what is the right thing, and then you can literally see the similar honesty coming from the other side. So there are two things which always comes to my mind, right? Expressing love is one thing. Even though you are surrounded by loved ones, if you don't feel there is something wrong with me, I need to learn how to accept love. If you actually see, dadis were always pouring love on everyone unconditionally. Dadis, Baba, and all the yajna is pouring unconditionally. But those people who are honest with themselves can accept that love coming towards themselves, and then they can feel that. So that is one quality which I want to highlight about Sister Roslyn, and then that experiences will give us a lot of strength to go through the hardships of ups and downs, right? Thank you for sharing that. And so one of the things I always wanted to ask you about dadis, right? So Dadi has been I mean, a lot of us who are there on the Zoom might not have met dadis. You have fortune of starting your spiritual journey with dadis and sustained by dadis. So you want to share something about each dadi, Dadi Prakashmani, Dadi Janki, Dadi Gulzar, some of the personal experiences you had.
I think maybe I have to take us right to Madhavan for Dadi Gulzar, because, she's the Baba's messenger, and that was really, really a key, because we met her, but then she came on the stage and she went into the trance, and Baba came, and it was like a sense of stillness happened that had not been there before, a sense of complete quiet. And then Baba spoke, and of course it was that whispery sound that you hear. And then the three of us, we were together, and we went up on the stage and sat on these little stools in front of Dadi. At least wasn't sure it was Dottie anymore. But anyway, it was a very unique experience. And then Gentiben was translating. And Baba gave each one of us a message. I was in the middle. I think I spent my life in the middle. I'm a middle daughter, but I'm one of 3 daughters, so I'm the middle. And I was the middle with these 3 of us as well. And Baba said, "Do you know your fortune?" And I thought, oh my gosh, absolutely appalled. I had no idea how to answer this question. I was almost at the state of panic. And I thought, wait a minute. And Gentiben said, I took a breath, oh my gosh. And this is a higher energy here. It isn't just ordinary. I can't just answer whatever comes to mind. There isn't anything in my mind. And Gentiben said, Baba asked you a question, like you have to answer. And I said, no, I don't know. So Baba said, know your fortune, use it, and share it with others. Okay? Know your fortune, use it, and share it with others. So to do that, I had to find out what it was. So the next 3 or 4 days in Madhaban, I looked in every corner. I explored every closet, I swear. I went into every little meditation room I could find, thinking, well, it's here somewhere. I'm going to find my fortune. And I couldn't find it. And then they printed the English Merle. And there it was in black and white. There's the power of knowledge and the power of yoga. The bestower of fortune is giving you your fortune. The omens of Jupiter are over you. The omens of Jupiter are over you. What you have is that energy of that beautiful drishti, Baba's drishti coming through. If you're there and you feel that, sometimes we could even feel that drishti just on a video. In Anubhuti, I could feel it there. It was like a whole shift happens within you. I explained once before, it's like your heart chakra opens, but it's a whole shift that happens. It's a metaphysical experience. And it's drishti. It's just spiritual vision. So that's one of the gifts that Baba's given us. And the other one is to have pure wishes or good wishes. No, I would say good wishes because I had a hard time with pure wishes. There are a couple of people I really had some difficulty with. But good wishes, okay. You get a promotion and you go beyond me. That's a good idea. Good wishes. That works really well. And finally, letting the past be the past, live in the present moment. And I think it was then that I could actually let go and say, okay, I'm not doing any of those other things anymore. I am going to work on this. And I went back to the museum and gave more information there. As people came, people would walk in. You didn't have to go looking for people. You didn't have to canvass the area or anything. They would come to you. And I think maybe that was the benefit of service. But so Baba said, service will follow you like a shadow.
Well, was telling that.
And it was a very natural thing. So that was my fortune, that those things happened in a natural way. I didn't have to work at it. So drishti, letting the past be the past, staying in the present moment, and having good wishes. Because if you have a positive thought, or if you find yourself getting into negative thought, at least stop, observe, and steer your thoughts in a different direction. I mean, that was lesson number 1. And learning that again and again with all the senior teachers that came to visit us, it stayed in my mind much better because it was a practical experience. And I've always been a practical person. So that was, I can't say that it was a genuine experience with Adi Golsar because Baba was there, but it was certainly an extremely uplifting experience with Adi Golsar to know that we can go beyond just the limited corporeal world to that higher stage of consciousness.
That's so beautiful. I just want to give a context to the listeners that, so this is during the times of 1980s, late 80s. When Baba used to meet each individual personally one-on-one. And that is a fortune that Sister Roslyn had to meet Baba personally in face to face. And then Baba had a direct interaction with her. Do you know what is your fortune? And of course, Baba speaks in Hindi. And then Sister Jayanti was there sitting next to Baba translating. And this is in Om Shanti Bhavan in Panda Bhavan, which is the main headquarters where most of our Sakar Murlis have been spoken, right? And that is where Brahma Baba became Avyak, that is where Dadis became Dadis, and that is the powerful place where Sister Roslyn met in person. And something to put yourself in place that Baba picks right souls. And definitely coming back to Dadi Gulzar, it's always magical. You never know when you're seeing Dadi Gulzar or when you're seeing Baba. I personally had that one experience. Most of the time I know how Dadi speaks. So she's very soft-spoken. She's very simple in her sharing. And drishti also, when Baba is giving drishti, when Dadi is giving drishti. Dadi's drishti is very cool, calm, and Baba's drishti is very strong, powerful, and empowering, right? So definitely, it's a powerful thing. And so you had beautiful experiences with Dadi Prakash Mani.
Oh, yeah, that was another time. There was I was in Hawaii at the time, so traveling to India was a little longer than any other journey. But getting there, I think there was supposed to be a big gathering of 30,000 people in Ahmedabad, and the Dadis were going to come and do a special program with them. But Hansaben said, the taxi or the car, the Dadis had a special driver, and the car was going up to pick them up and take them down to this big program in Ahmedabad. So they were going up to must have been Shantivan, because I think that's about that time it was built. And so we got there, and she said, "No, come with me. We're going to go and meet the Dadis and say hello." And I thought, "Oh my goodness, I don't think I've ever done that kind of thing before. Let's go and do it." And off we went. And of course, they have this Hindi conversation because, it's just not something that you can get into. But they give you beautiful drishti. There's no two ways. And Hansaben must have told her that I was a nurse. And Dadi Kumarka just grabbed my hands. And she had been in the hospital that year, so she was in pretty fragile health. But I don't think I'd had anyone grab my hands quite that passionately and hold on. And then she actually kissed them. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is like really an honor, because nobody had ever thanked me quite that graciously before. And so I felt, boy, this is a level of respect that Dadi has for people that's far beyond anything that I could even phantom giving to anyone else. So I was really elevated, pleased, and absolutely delighted. There's just no way to describe it. So it was a very lucky chance. When they say you have a lucky chance, that was one of them. Yeah. And it was strictly because the sister I was with spoke Hindi, and she wanted to see the Dadis, and she was bold enough to go ahead and do it. I never would have thought to do that on my own.
Beautiful. So these are the moments that always keep us so stuck in like a rock, rock, to be like a rock, because things will shake. The tree will shake, everything will shake, but we need to have some deep experiences like this, right? And especially when you have a direct experiences in person with Dadis, and then you felt something deeper than normal. And then just to give you a little more context, and Sister Roslyn is by nurse by profession, and Dadi Dadi Prakash Mani has a lot of respect for nurses, and especially on this path of service. And that is when she literally took her hands and then kissed her, and that moment, right, that act of kindness, that act of honoring the other soul for what they are bestowing the world with, that acknowledgement goes long ways, right? And these moments is what builds up our Brahmin life. In fact, not just the Brahmin life. It is this faith, when we talk about faith, is backed by these kind of deep experiences. Faith is not just somebody said something and then you live up to it. No, faith is backed by some deep experiences connected to that, right? You remember the experience, but you don't remember what created that experiences once you leave the body, right? And that is what I always look forward whenever I listen to somebody's personal experiences on the spiritual path. Thank you very much for that beautiful, what to look for, what kind of experiences to seek for, what to expect, right? It may not come in black and white, like out of the body kind of experience, but these are the touching moments. Yeah,
you have to really be alert and be in the right place at the right time, or realize you're in the right place at the right time. I went with Chandraben one year, and she would take me to visit everyone. She came to Hawaii once. She would come every year. No, oh yes, there we were. I forgot to mention, after going to Seattle, I went to Seattle to learn how to take care of a center. I really didn't feel confident that I could be in a center unless I had a teacher there to make sure we had teacher training, but it's not the same thing as knowing your duties and performing them on a regular basis. So I was up in Seattle and learned how to do that. And then after 4 years, actually, Sister Mohini had come and tied Rocky when I was visiting Winnipeg, and she suggested that I go to Hawaii. And I said, it's one of those things where I really don't feel financially able to just pick up and go. First of all, you have to have a license in another state to work. And secondly, I didn't have enough saved to go to another state. I mean, Seattle was one thing. The sisters were already there. So I was joining a center already, but not starting a new one. So I started saving up so that when the time came and Chandraben said, yes, it's okay, we can go and we'll see. So we went to Dadi, and Dadi Janki said, you take Chandraben with you, and if she says it's okay, you can stay in Hawaii. But otherwise, you go back to Seattle. I said, okay, this sounds like a good plan. And, I've always been willing to give a change a chance. So we went to Hawaii. Now, like I said, we had 2 weeks. I found a job in 2 weeks. How come many people can get a job in 2 weeks? You're supposed to be there. And it was in home care, which was what I wanted to do. I really wanted home care. I'd rather not go back to the hospital. Although when I worked in the hospital, it was often the case that I was in the right place at the right time. And I can remember in the hospital in Seattle, I think after I'd been 4 weeks on the job and being in the right place at the right time and called for the emergency cart, the nurse from the emergency room or the ICU came in and she said, not you again. And I said, well, I'm sorry. I'm just in the right place at the right time. You should be glad it was me and not somebody else not paying attention. But that was the thing that I noticed with more and more meditation. Your intuitive experience was very much present. And it took me to places where I would catch a problem before it got out of hand, or maybe, in the process of getting out of hand. But as far as Hawaii was concerned, I got the job and I started in January. And Chandraben called me up and said, well, Dadi wants to talk to you. So I called Dadi, and she gave a message through Chandraben. And let me tell you, I was sitting on the floor because I didn't have any furniture. It was a 1-bedroom apartment, unfurnished. And there I was sitting on my little bumper from my hatha yoga class. And she said, go ahead and we'll come and see you. We'll come and visit Hawaii. I couldn't believe it. She was going to come there. Oh my goodness.
This is Dadi Janki.
Yeah, Dadi Janki. So she came. I'd been there. I got there in January. She came in May. But fortunately, Mrs. Wadamal also was home. Mrs. Wadamal was part of the family that created Wadamal Hospital in the Global Hospital in Mount Abu. So the family was familiar. So Dadi stayed with the family, and that was a relief. But because I couldn't imagine. She said when she came to my little 1-bedroom apartment, she said, "You get a bigger place and go for it." So Daddy told me what to do. I went ahead and got a bigger place, and we had another sister join us, and service expanded quite a bit. We had a couple of students show up, so that was okay. But it took, it was a very gradual process. But the students would come one-on-one, and we were up in Minoa Valley, which reminds me of Valerie, who called earlier. Yeah. And every once in a while, there was somebody who was ready to go to Madhavan. And the first student that was ready to go to Madhavan was actually a lieutenant commander in the Navy. She was in the hospital there, and she was in charge of all the women's services, and she was thinking that she'd like to go. And I said, okay, we're ready. We have to get a visa and everything. And she couldn't find her passport. So that was the end of that. So I called Chandraben up and said, well, the guest that I thought we had is not coming. And she said, oh, there's another guest. And she's coming from Peru. So she's also an American coming from Peru. So you can be her escort instead. So that worked out very well. And that sister wanted desperately. She was in charge of an orphanage in Peru. And in Peru, women, or let's put it this way, girls are not honored very much. So if you have a lot of girls in your family and maybe only 1 or 2 boys, you keep the boys and put the girls in the orphanage. So this is kind of an appalling state of affairs. This lady is in charge of the orphanage on the way to Cusco, Machu Picchu, up in that area, which is quite a famous area. And anyway, she wanted the Brahma Kumaris to take over the care of the orphanage. And she said, I have to meet that Dadi Kumar because she'll know what to do. She'll get it together. But Chandraben had arranged our visit, and it wasn't with Dadi Kumar, it was with Dadi Janki. So we go to visit Dadi Janki, and Dadi Janki says to her, be happy. That's all, and everything will work out. Be happy. Oh my goodness. She really, really wanted the big case to take over her orphanage, and it did not happen. But this woman came to visit me in Hawaii about 3 years later, and the girl that came with her had grown up in the orphanage, and she was able to take over the responsibility of the orphanage. And she was that confident that she could do it because she'd been trained by this woman. It was a really lucky situation. But Daddy just told her, be happy and things will work out. And I think that's something that, you just have to have a positive attitude and things will work out. If you could just change your worry and fears and experience an alternative choice, I think it's called possibility thinking, but it really, if we meditate at that higher level and create a vision of what we want to happen, and we see all those things very clearly, then we can make it happen because we've changed our attitude and open to new opportunities and experiences. And I think that's what happened with that lady. I really do.
So beautiful. So I just want to bring to your attention one of the things Sister Roslyn brought up. One of the power that she was calling out is the power of intuition, right? That intuitive thinking, to be in the right place at the right time, right? To follow through your intuition. And of course, she already had before coming. So that is what she was following through her intuition. That's how she ended up here. But once you start meditating, you become more subtle. You start catching things which is more subtle. So one of the things that really brings my attention is the things around us will start rewiring, and you'll start sensing the possibilities. First of all, to follow through the possibility, you need to sense there is a possibility. do you follow? So first of all, I need to sense that there is a possibility of that so that I can follow through. And that is what intuition gives. And the possibilities which are impossible possibilities, right? To be in the right place at the right time Yeah. And just want to add to that, and being in that profession of nursing, I want to bring to your attention, Sister Roslyn was taking care of Sister Chandru when she was going through some health crisis recently. And I was there when we called 911, and then she had a stroke, and then nobody of us were able to sense like what is happening. Maybe she's feeling some back problem or something, and then we don't know. But Sister Roslyn was very clear. You got to call 911. This is the time. You have to. This is nothing that you should not wait even a minute. She ran. She picked up the phone. She called 911, and then they came in the right time, and then they picked Sister Chandra up, and then she's now healthy. But to sense what is going on the other side needs a lot of intuition, and definitely empathy is there, but you also need to sense like, are they going through the pain, or is it something like a body pain, or is it something that needs attention more than normal, right? And of course, I witnessed that intuitive ability of Sister Roslyn on that day, because I was standing there. I don't know what to do. Should I call? Should I not call? What is actually happening? Is it a normal thing? Right? Yeah. So definitely meditation does magic, and Baba does magic. Yeah. So anything specific that you want to share about um, other dadis like Dadi Ratan Moini or...
I couldn't think of any other stories, that particularly when you asked me out, but I always have one for Dadi, for Chandraben, because she would come and spend time with me. And we were very fortunate because I got involved with the Holistic Nurses Association in Hawaii. So we were able to present a program there on healing. And, the result of meditation can be some forms of healing, which would be help, at least lowering blood pressure, and that sort of thing would work. So, and then also she was able to speak with the interfaith group, which I was involved with. So that was also a lucky chance. And then it was time to move again, and she came and approved the it was a townhouse. Now, this is after 9/11, and the economy in Hawaii completely collapsed at that point in time. So the fact that I was willing to invest in a townhouse was because the bank accepted a very tiny, tiny amount of money for it. I was astonished, but she said, yes, this is a good place. You should get it. So I got it. And 3 years later, she said, I want you to move to Anabuti. I want to nurse there. And I said, oh, Chandraben, I really don't want to leave Hawaii. But if a disaster happens, I'll move. She said, oh, you don't want to wait for a disaster. But a tidal wave happened and it hit Thailand. Now, that was a close enough disaster. I realized it was the other side of the Pacific, but I was in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Now, things had changed a lot after 9/11, and about 3 years later, it was time to move. So I sold the condo for twice as much as I bought it for. I moved to Anabuti, and I became the assistant cook there, which is how you end up with toli, because nobody else knew how to use the oven. So,
if you have been to Anabuti, if you have taken toli, you have tasted the toli of Sister Roslyn, especially the coconut peanut cookies and chocolate chip cookies.
Now, I know coconut are your favorite, but the others like chocolate chip better. It's a toss-up. You have to make a decision with your ingredients. You always have to be practical. That's the key. Yeah, always be practical. But I found with meditation, we find the opportunities to present to people in the strangest ways. If an opportunity comes in front of you, you just say yes. Thank you, Baba. I'll be okay and do it. Haji, and that's to say yes, Haji. And it's been my experience that I can even when I don't think it's possible, that I could make the challenge and be okay about it. I mean, we had an interfaith group in Hawaii, and we were all invited to the Hare Krishna temple. Now, there was a huge banyan tree in the backyard. It's one of the biggest banyan trees. Well, I think Maui has the largest banyan tree, but the banyan tree in the Hare Krishna temple in the backyard is really quite large. So I thought, well, we'll take the opportunity to give Baba's little lesson on the tree here. Because, the seed of the tree has the knowledge of the whole of creation. So that's how we started. And the microphone was never in the right place. I was always too short. So somebody had to fix that for me. But once we got the tree growing and each of the branches being another religion, those people just really got it. It was amazing. So we find the opportunity to do interfaith work just using a simple idea that Baba presents in one of your classes is the easiest way to go. Don't make it complicated. Just present the seed. And there it is. The knowledge of the whole creation comes right out of it.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I haven't heard that before. Thank you for sharing. So one of the things I want you to keep an attention on in the subtlety of the yoga that she has, and because that is what we need to learn, and especially from this session, if you one thing that you want to take home is how to be subtle enough. How can I pick up that signals what Baba is telling, and from the sharing of Sister Roslyn, and then she has been instrumental in starting a lot of service places in Hawaii, in Seattle, in different places, right?
Hercules,
yeah, that is one of the places which was very close to us. And I want to tell one thing, Sister Sujata, who offered the place to start the service in Hercules, she says this about Sister Roslyn: she is the golden age soul. She is the golden age soul. No matter what happened, she has that presence. She has that values that she follows through. Right, and then she has a very high respect for Sister Roslyn, and Sister Roslyn has been serving in interfaith. She has been serving. She was a president of holistic nurses, right? And she did a lot of service there in Hawaii, and also here in Hercules. She used to go to a library regularly and conduct meditations. And so we have today Sister Valerie is also here with us. If you want to make her co-host or something. Sister Valerie is one of the initial students who got connected to Baba through Sister Roslyn in Hawaii, right? So when we get the chance, we will share a little bit more on that. So now going further, now that things are changing, right? And especially in today's Morley, things are changing. And you already alluded a little bit about when Chandruben said that, you should move to California. You said when destruction happens, I'll move. And and Baba gave you an indication with that incident in Thailand and in Indonesia, right? So, but you still got the message. You asked for it, and then Baba gave the signal, and then you picked it up, and then you acted on it, right? So anything in that lines that will help us to pick the signals or to tune into what we should be doing to prepare ourselves for that.
Well, I find if I try and do something the same way 3 times and it doesn't work out, obviously it's time to change or use another technique. Obviously, the same way isn't working. So it's recognizing, stop, observe my response, and see where I need to go in a different direction. Don't stay rigid with the same mistake. And recognize, first of all, it might be a mistake, and choose something else. It's like the first time you burn the biscuits. You have to adjust the temperature on the oven, or make sure. Oh my goodness, make sure the temperature is even nearly the right temperature in the first place. Somebody changed the dial on you. It could be that's what happened, but we have to be careful and attentive to, or paying attention to what we're doing. But if I have a pure intention, then the outcome is pretty well guaranteed if I'm involving Baba as my companion, so that I'm taking that divine help at the same time I'm working through something, so that I'm not struggling on my own anymore, but recognizing, hey, let me put my hands out and receive help, and it'll be right there. I mean, it's almost like a vibration happens that you can feel the intensity of Baba trying to give you a hand. But if you don't tune in to the right, how does the brother Eric put it? You have to get the right, well, you're on the radio when you turn in, and you find, frequency. Yeah, you have to find the right spot on the dial. And it's more than that. You really have to you talked at me the other day and you said Sakash, but it's more than just Baba's giving you Sakash, but are you receiving it? That's the key. You have to really open your heart and receive it. And then the right practical thing will be right there in front of you. You'll have a realization. I think that was one of Sister Mohini's benefits of this past week. She said, you have realize yourself as a soul and connect with Baba from that place, and the answer will be there. The direction will be there. You'll intuitively receive exactly what you need to receive, and you can go for it, and it'll come out okay. It's been my experience.
If I heard it correctly, realize Baba, connect to Baba, and you will find your answer there.
But first of all, you have to take yourself to that spiritual place in you. It might be a sense. It might be a sense of light. It might be just that deep inner peace place. It might be just total quiet. I mean, I heard a phrase the other day. I thought, oh, that's perfect. We're in the stage of retirement, and we listen to the silence. We hear the silence. When we hear the silence, then we're in the right connection. And that's it, right there.
In Hindi, it says like Vana Prast. Vani means like sound. Prast means beyond sound. And that is the word for retirement.
I rest my case.
So it's beautiful, like how you put it together. When you tune into that silence, you are in the right place. Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. So I wanted to always ask this question for everyone about Madhuban, right? So Madhuban is a special place, and the atmosphere there is totally different. People there are with a totally different intention. People are very altruistic by nature, and then they are there with a purpose to uplift themselves, to grow spiritually there, and everyone is focused on themselves big time. And that atmosphere has a very nurturing atmosphere to nurture our own spirituality. Right. And I heard a lot of stories from different people. But one thing which I heard when I was talking to you other day with Vijay Lakshmi, right? So going into
I was thinking, please, I couldn't remember what it was we talked about. Yes, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi used to do the outreach program. And when I first went to Gyan, she met me and said, oh, good, a nurse. Okay, I need you. Come with me. I want to go on this outreach. And Salgon was the name of the town. I mean, we're talking about just outside of Gyan Rover. And now there's a fancy road there. But in those days, there was just a dirt track. And we get to the village, which, we're talking mud huts with the mud floor, that kind of level. There was no school yet. And there was a brick wall or a stone wall. She plunked us down on the stone wall. And she said, we're here because she delivered the child of the the headmaster. No, the headman of the village. His wife had a baby, and she did the delivery. That must have been a home delivery too, because she had to come up there to examine the mother and make sure she was okay. And all the children from the village came, and all the parents came, and she examined anyone who wasn't well. And then I think it was there must have been a spiritual man in charge of, they don't have ministers there. I don't know what exactly he was, but
priest, kind of.
Yeah, he was a priest. Okay, that's good enough. But he had a terrible eye infections in both eyes. And she said to him, I don't have anything that can take care of it here with me, because she only had her little nurse's bag, doctor bag with her. But you come to the hospital, because in those days we had just had the hospital built, and she would take care of him. And it was because it was the headman's wife, and the rapport was, normally this man would have absolutely nothing to do with the Brahma Kumaris, but he was in need of care, and she was willing to give it. And he came to the hospital and was treated, and he was very, very honorable after. There was no rejection of the Brahma Kumaris coming, because the buildings were built, a couple of years later, right across the street from them. So they had to have a good rapport. But ultimately, the Brahma Kumaris built a schoolhouse for that community, a 3-room schoolhouse, and we all went for the opening of the schoolhouse. All the children were so happy they had little slates with pieces of chalk. You just can't imagine what a third world country is until you have this chance to see. There's no way this education could possibly happen in the United States with little pieces of chalk and little boars on their laps writing their letters or whatever they were writing. But I wanted to bring them pencils, but they had no paper. So what was the point?
That's true. That's true.
It was just, but the rapport that was built up in that little village, because she went and offered her time. And it was just, the give and take was very easy. And ultimately, I think the Rotary Club, I'm not sure if it's a Rotary Club from San Francisco, but anyway, a Rotary Club in the United States realized that her work was terribly, terribly important and very effective. Because I went to her on other trips with other village runs, and they bought her a bus, a proper bus, so that she didn't have to take the taxi anymore, which was really a step up. But I can remember going with her one time, and she gave me this child that looked like a 6-month-old lady, a baby. And she said, no, that baby's 2 years old. Feed him. I need to talk to the mother. And fortunately, I had some kind of pablamy thing. So I was feeding the baby, and by the time the father came home, are you ready for this? The father brought home dinner, 2 potatoes. That was it. That's what this family had to eat for dinner. And the little girl was watching me feed the baby with her eyes as big. And finally I said, we can't eat anymore. So I gave it to her, because she was as hungry as he was. It was just amazing. But we were sitting on the dirt floor. There was no light in the place. It was a grass hut. And this is the kind of work that this woman did. She just went wherever she needed to go and gave the village people the help that they needed. And it was just, it touched my heart every time I went with her. I was so glad to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you, one year my working place gave me the Nurse of the Year award, because I would take medical supplies to the Global Hospital. We helped build Global Hospital. And because of that, we carried the sand to make the cement, to build the bricks, to make the walls. So you always have good health. That was a guarantee. That was the guarantee. We all did that.
That's beautiful. Thank you. So one of the things I want to bring to your attention is expose yourself and be open to be touched. Don't close up yourself. And one of the things which I listen to the sharings like this is, she literally went into the villages, and then she felt what is literally happening, right? Especially when you have an honest heart, and when you see what people are going through and how they are going through, and then when you uplift the spirit. And especially for those who have been in Yagya for a while, they know about Dr. Vinay Lakshmi. She was in Global Hospital. She used to take care of the outreach program of the Global Hospital. She literally used to go to the villages. She literally picks up the children and does whatever it needs to be done. And that is where you witness things happening. That is when you get touched. And whenever you are touched, something changes within us. So I always get inspired by all of these sharings. Thank you, Sister Roslyn, for bringing this thing up. Right. So I just want to check in with, if anyone have any questions or comments, please put it in the chat, and then we will take it further. Yeah. And so we have with us Sister Valerie. Is that? Yeah. So Sister Valerie, feel free to unmute yourself if you want to share, if you want to comment anything. So she's one of the first students who was inspired by Sister Roslyn in Hawaii, when she was in Hawaii. And Sister Valerie is originally from Fiji. Yes. You want to add her to the spotlight?
Good evening and Om Shanti. There's so many experiences with Roslyn Ben from Hawaii. All my firsts were all in Hawaii with Roslyn Ben. And going to Madhavan the first time, meeting Chandra Ben the first time, Hema Ben and Sukanya Ben when they would come to Hawaii, and we'd take all those green leaves and put them in bags for them to bring back to San Francisco. And the first trip to Madhavan was my first year, and she told me I was going to Madhavan, and I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? What do I have to do for that? But Roslyn made it easy. And we went, my first 2 trips were with Roslyn, going to Madhavan, and they were just unbelievable. And she showed me so many things, and I learned so much from, and Nancy was also there. And so those first years there were amazing. And I'm so grateful and will always be. And thank you to Baba for meeting Roslyn and Nancy there. Thank you, Roslyn Ben. I loved your stories. And I remember Vinay Lakshmi, the doctor, how you used to run around collecting all the medical supplies that we'd take to Madhavan for her, and sitting in her office with her. It's just wonderful. Thank you so much. I will always be grateful for that opportunity. Thank you, Baba.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Sister Roslyn is also blends meditation with Hatha Yoga also. One of my favorite thing is she does the tree thing, right? So when you do the stretches, you do the full tree thing. She brings health, both physical health, mental health, and the spiritual health all together.
We have one question from Sister Anuja. If during yoga, if we sometimes feel that the experience that I'm having is just work of my mind, then how do we distinguish between Baba's real love, his divine hand on my head giving blessings?
Don't you feel the divine hand on your head? Literally. Open your heart, brother. Put your hands out and feel that vibration. It's right there. Baba's giving you. Let go of the intellect. Mm-hmm. Don't try and rationalize it. Just feel it. Feel it. And then you can let go of all those conditions. Her restrictions. I think that was something Chandraben said, or no, anything that you're resisting, you're putting an obstruction there. So be open. That's all. Just be open, and you'll move beyond the physical experience to the metaphysical experience. It's a touching. All these words are because it's not It's not intellectual at all.
That is true. And yeah, like Sister Roslyn was pointing out earlier also, when you are in the silence and then when you're feeling that, you are there. You know when you are there, right? And definitely one of the things, this always comes to my mind, like, is Gyan important or is yoga important? And one thing which I found is, like, there is no Gyan, there is no yoga. It all means the same after a point. When Gyan and yoga means the same thing, that is when you're actually having Gyan. When you're having that point, that is when you're really understanding what Gyan is. So the point again is, like Sister Rosling pointing out, is the silence. That silence where you're not forcing yourself to empty yourself. You're naturally being silent because you feel full. You feel very content. You're in that pleasant space. You don't want anything. Because, and then one of the things she also called out is stop intellectual processing. You already know you're a soul. Baba is the supreme soul. He's your father. He's the ocean of love. You don't have to intellectualize anymore. Stop intellectualizing. Now start feeling. Whatever makes sense, start feeling it. Once you start feeling it, then you know when you are there. Right. Yeah. I mean, I can sense from her expression that we should get that sooner or later. Sooner the better. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Cool. So we will have a quick meditation. So let's take us for 10-15 minutes meditation to that place of silence. Take us to the best place.
Okay. So what do you have to do when you're getting ready to meditate? You're sitting upright? Yes,
That's
you're sitting
the first
upright.
thing.
Take a deep breath in and roll your shoulders back. You're going to sit up straight. Can you be up straight? Yes. Let your hands be soft in your lap. Yeah. Open to receive. Take a deep breath in and breathe out slowly. Let go of all the tension on all the muscles of your body. Completely relax. Breathe in light and breathe out shadows. Breathe in love and breathe out heaviness. Breathe in peace and breathe out any sorrow and let it go. Let it go completely. And now be aware that you can be detached from your physical body. It's as if you're outside your physical body and you can observe it as you're observing me. And then have a pure intention to create healing for the body and healing for anyone else you feel needs help to heal their body. So start at the feet. Feel a soft vibration, the vibration under the feet. Lift that vibration up through your legs to your hips. And have a sense of healing, a healing energy in a beautiful green light in and around your legs, from your toes, all the way up to your knees, your hips, a beautiful green light. And have a positive affirmation that only health will prevail in my legs. Only health will prevail in my legs. Only health will prevail in my legs. And now draw your attention up to your abdomen and the small of your back. And create a soft green, blue light in this area of your body. See that soft green light, soft blue, green light radiating all the way around your abdomen to the small of your back. And have a positive affirmation. The positive affirmation that only health will prevail in the center of my body. Only health will prevail in that physical body. And now raise that energy, raise the energy up to your heart chakra and see your heart. And a beautiful rose light in and around your heart, radiating down your arms, all the way to the tips of your fingers. A beautiful rose light. In this beautiful rose light, there is the positive affirmation that only tranquility will reign in my emotions, in my heart, and in my action. Only tranquility will reign in my heart, my action. And now draw the energy up into your forehead to that point of light, that beautiful energy of the soul, and see the soul shining out, shining that light like a lighthouse. And recognize that the energy of a beautiful golden red light will be radiating 6 inches around your head, out into the atmosphere. A golden red light radiating out. And I have that positive affirmation that only peace will reign in my thoughts and tranquility will reign in my emotions. Peace will reign in my thoughts and tranquility will prevail in my emotion. And now recognize this golden red light and extend that beautiful light from the top of your head to the toes of your feet. And recognize this light will protect me. This light will protect me from anything that could harm me. This light will protect me from anything that can harm me. And now I lift myself up higher and go beyond. I can go beyond this physical world as if I'm seeing it. The earth rotating as that beautiful blue pearl rotating in the sea of darkness. And I recognize that I have the energy to give peace to every single soul, every single individual soul on the surface of the earth. One drop of peace, because I can connect with the divine. I am beyond the atmosphere I am outside the cosmos. I am beyond. And in that realm of silence, I am connected. I am connected to the Divine One, the ocean of peace, the ocean of love, the ocean of happiness. That one is giving directly to me, and that energy is moving from me out and around the entire universe. Let me hold this awareness in my mind. I am a being of peace, and I am connected with the ultimate being of peace. Let me hold this in my awareness. Om Shanti. Okay, come back to the room, come back to the place. You can come back in your body. Om Shanti.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Stay safe and stay with Baba. Stay in light. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Thank you, everyone.